Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to the game according to me. What a time we are in. We are headed down to the start of football season, which has been great. The last 3 episodes of my podcast, I have been given the rankings for the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the receiving core. But today we're going to switch from pro football to college football, and we're going to be talking about the 2022-2023 NCAA college football season. I am going to give you my 4 teams that are going to make the college football playoff, but first we're going to talk about the Heisman race and give you the top 10 candidates for the Heisman according to NFL.com. So we're going to do that, and we're going to have some fun here. So this is the NCAA college football 2023, a lot of 20s in there, season. So let's go ahead and start it off with the Heisman favorites. Okay, so let's start with from 10 to 1. Again, this is from NFL.com. The Heisman Trophy candidates. Number 10, Trayvon Henderson, Ohio State running back, sophomore. Why he could win. The top running back in the 2021 recruiting class has some absurd highlights in his first season, racking up 1,560 scrimmage yards and 19 touchdowns, 15 rushing for receiving, on a mere 210 touches. Just imagine what he could do with a J.K. Dobbins-like workload this season. Biggest potential roadblock right now, Henderson has 2 teammates, C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith Najaba, ahead of him in the pecking order for various reasons, and Henderson must be more consistent. He amassed 21.6% of his rushing yards versus Tulsa in the 3rd game of the season and had only 2 100 rushing yard games thereafter. Playing in a pass-heavy attack and sharing the load with Mayan Williams are limiting factors. Plus, there seems to be something of an anti-running back bias these days. Najee Harris, 1,466 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns for Alabama in 2020, and Jonathan Taylor, 2,003 yards, 21 touchdowns for Wisconsin in 2019, could fare no better than 5th in the Heisman voting. Dobbins, who had nearly identical production to Taylor in 2019, finished 6th that year. Number 9, DJ Uiagalelei, quarterback, Clemson, Jr., why he could win. He seemed almost to be completely written off after his early struggles in 2021, and it was understandable. But it's not as if the former 5-star recruit suddenly became untalented. The challenge of replacing Trevor Lawrence and doing so without many of his weapons was too daunting a year ago. However, this Clemson team, and him for that matter, is just too gifted to repeat 2021. The quarterback who produced 781 passing yards and 6 touchdowns and no interception, replacing Lawrence against Boston College and Notre Dame in 2020, has shown us he can thrive, and he's coming off a bounce-back spring performance. That Clemson receiving core and offensive line should be better. If the downfield passing game opens back up, the offense could be back to producing regular fireworks. Biggest potential roadblock. Last year was straight up ugly in a lot of ways for both Uiagalelei and the Tigers. He finished with a 9-10 touchdown interception ratio, and Clemson's 10-3 record and number 14 final ranking somehow felt worse. While the wheels fell off offensively is anyone's guess, but now he technically must keep his job with star recruit Cade Klubnik breathing down his neck. Number 8, Tyler Van Dyke, quarterback, Miami, sophomore. While he could win, after a few tough outings to start his 2021 season, Van Dyke finished on a tear. He led Miami to big wins over NC State and Pittsburgh, totaling 91-94 yards passing and a 20-3 touchdown interception ratio in the final 6 games. Now, new head coach Mario Cristobal takes over, and his expertise should help him firm up the offensive line. Will Mallory has been a target at tight end, and Clemson transfer Frank Ladson Jr. could lead the receiving corps. Without an established run game, the Hurricanes might be resorted to slinging the ball again. And that's great news for Van Dyke's Heisman chances. Biggest potential roadblock? How many games must Miami win for Van Dyke to have a legitimate just shot? 9, 10, or more? Going into College Station and beating Texas A&M on September 17th would help. Part of the narrative for Van Dyke is the question of whether he can lead Miami back to, or at least to participate in its former glory. We love nostalgia, and there will be plenty of Vinny Testaverde and Gino Torretta callbacks for good measure, but this isn't likely to be an easy choice. Miami has talent, but until further notice, it's fair to be a bit skeptical in terms of how high the program can climb in 2022. Number 7, Dillon Gabriel, Oklahoma quarterback junior. Why he could win. An undersized Hawaii-born lefty slinger is pumped to be as a Heisman candidate. Where have we heard that before? Tua Tagovailoa might not have won the award, finishing second in 2018, but Dillon has a chance to accomplish what Tua couldn't. After 2+ seasons of tearing up the American Athletic Conference at UCF, Gabriel moved to Norman, where he would be driving a pretty robust offense led by receivers Marvin Mims and Theo Wease. Gabriel has tossed 2 or more touchdowns in 22 of his 26 college games and once threw for 601 yards and 5 touchdowns in a loss at Memphis. He'll be reunited with offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby, who called plays for Gabriel in his standout true freshman season. Biggest potential roadblock, Gabriel is coming to Oklahoma amid a sea of changes. With a new coaching staff, a significant roster churn, this isn't the same crop of talent that we used to be seeing there. On one hand, a softer schedule of defenses is a benefit towards Gabriel thriving. But if the Sooners drop an unexpected game or two along the way, it could hurt his chances. Heisman voters were thoughtful when dishing out the award to talented quarterbacks in 3 or 4 lost seasons in recent years. See Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin III. But Gabriel isn't quite the did you see that dual threat playmaker who owns highlight reels. Number 6, Jackson Smith Ncaa. While he could win, games such as Smith's performance in the Rose Bowl, 15 catches, 324 yards, and 3 touchdowns against a very good Utah defense can resonate. There is a scenario where a receiver can win the award over his own quarterback, as we saw in 2020 when Devontae Smith took it over Mac Jones. Smith Ncaa is one of college football's best players in the second half of the season. Ohio State must replace nearly 2,000 yards receiving and 25 touchdown catches from Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave headed off to the NFL. A statement performance against Notre Dame in the season opener could help grow some buzz for Smith Ncaa in the regular season final versus Michigan in the Horseshoe is the kind of stage that can help seal the Heisman deal for a monster showing. Biggest potential roadblock? Smith is playing one of the most loaded receiver groups in the country, even with notable losses. His talent is above reproach, but that strong supporting cast could hurt his chances in some ways. Plus, Smith is still a wide receiver, and last we checked, Devontae Smith remains the only true wideout since 1991 to win the award. Something would likely need to go horribly wrong for the Buckeyes, C.J. Stroud, to not be in the Heisman picture this year. If Stroud has a great season and Smith doesn't produce at bonkers rates, well, the Heisman typically goes to the quarterback in those situations. Number 5, Bijan Robinson, Texas running back junior. Why he could win. If there's a non-quarterback offensive player who could swoop in and take home the hardware, it might be Robinson. He has all the physical tools to dominate with a perfect blend of size, speed, and vision. Texas coach Steve Sarkisian paved the way for running back Najee Harris to finish 5th in the 2020 Heisman race when he called plays at Alabama and can unleash Robinson in a similar way. A big showing on September 10th versus Alabama, win or loss, could kickstart Robinson's campaign. And a late season game at Kansas could offer Robinson a prime stat-packed opportunity to get him to New York as a finalist. He gashed the Jayhawks last year before a third-quarter elbow injury ended his season, and Kansas knocked out of Austin with a win in overtime. Biggest potential roadblock? Can Texas has a season befitting of a Heisman winner? It's hard enough for a non-quarterback to win this thing, and it typically requires a combination of individual dominance and team success. Robinson has had a share of injuries in his past 2 seasons, making a fully healthy season a bit of a projection. He would likely need to be out there dominating on a weekly basis to win the Heisman. But Texas also has a terrific backup in Rashawn Johnson, whose presence could prevent Robertson from being overworked. Number 4, Will Anderson Jr. Why he could win. Considered a Heisman finalist, snubbed last year, Williams was absolutely tremendous for the Tide, collecting an FBS, 17.5 sacks, and 34.5 tackles for loss. There could easily be a makeup call here this season if Anderson comes close to that level of production again. The Crimson Tide defense once again should be loaded, and Alabama's always on national TV. Anderson is as close to a non-QB household name as there is in college football, and a big 2020 season has to at least put him in the Heisman conversation, especially if the Tide make another run at the national title. Biggest potential roadblock. He isn't considered a Heisman favorite on his own team. That would be quarterback Bryce Young. The fact that the only one primarily defensive player, Charles Woods in 1997, has won the award certainly plays against Anderson and every other defender in this country. Matching his absurd 2021 production will also be no easy chore. Number 3, Caleb Williams, USC quarterback sophomore. Why he could win. Williams didn't start a game for Oklahoma until October 16th last year, yet he still entered the Heisman discussion as a true freshman before a few late-season slip-ups. He was an immediate star, accounting for 27 touchdowns despite barely attempting 200 passes. Now, Williams and Lincoln Riley have made the trip together to USC and could be a part of a huge program revival as it starts the process of joining the Big Ten in a couple years. Williams is a gifted runner and thrower, and he will have one of the best receivers in the country, Pitt Tranford, Jordan Addison, as part of a talented core of newcomers with which to work with. The schedule isn't that daunting outside of Notre Dame and Utah games, as USC doesn't face Oregon this season. Riley's Oklahoma teams went 55-10 and have never lost more than 2 games in any of his 5 seasons. Biggest potential roadblock. There are many new faces that need to mesh together under Riley's watch, and yet the expectations are already sky high. The collection of talent is tremendous, but it could take some time to gel. USC's 3 games prior to the Heisman voting decline at UCLA versus Notre Dame and potentially the Pac-12 title game could all have an outsized effect on Williams' chances to win. Any type of stumble down the stretch, something Riley's Oklahoma's teams were occasionally prone to, could hinder his candidacy. In the early 2000s, the Trojans had Heisman winners in 3 out of the 4 seasons, but amazingly, they're not even had a finalist for the award since 2005. Number 2, C.J. Stroud. Why he could win. Stroud is favored by some to win the award. Ohio State's offense once again could be a monster this season. Stroud's passing numbers last year in 3 fewer games were quite comparable and in some cases better than reigning Heisman winner Bryce Young's. Stroud will have an explosive target in Jackson Smith, and along with promising wide receiver options Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Ubuke, and Julian Freeman. I'm gonna stop here for a minute reading these names. The Jackson Smith name and DJ Ugalele. They're just, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. These names are just frustrating sometimes. Okay, let's continue. There's also star Trayvon Henderson, a strong offensive line, and when Ryan Day, one of the best play callers in college football, it's a perfect environment for which Stroud should strive. Biggest potential roadblock, Stroud hasn't been a big running threat in college, so there could be dual threat passes elsewhere with more gaudy overall numbers. Plus, Stroud was occasionally prone to slow starts in games and loses 2 top 11 picks in Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, plus 2 starting linemen and tight end Jimmy Ruckert. Stroud might also need to beat Michigan in the annual late season till nearly always a significant game. This award often shifted by 1 or 2 big contests. A huge performance against the Wolverines could give him his Heisman moment, but a striker could sink Stroud's chances late. And finally, number 1, Bryce Young. Why he could win. He won the Heisman last year. Young, wild, with his poise and accuracy, consistently making great choices in his first full campaign as starter after watching Heisman finalist Mac Jones lead the Tide to a national title the year before. Young completed more than 70% of his passes in 8 games in 2021 and logged a stunning 47-7 touchdown to interception ratio. He floundered a bit in the second half of the national title game to Georgia after the interception to Jameson Williams. And when Bama's offensive line came up short, but we were talking about one of the most precocious and efficient passers in college football here. There's a good reason why Young is one of the clear favorites for the award. He won the award last season. After all, the last and only back-to-back winner was Ohio State's Archie Griffin in the mid-1970s. Whether voters are biased against former winners repeating or if the pressure of matching or surpassing the previous year's achievements is too great, repeating is just difficult. More taxing for Young might be the fact that he loses the team's top 4 leaders in receptions last season, as well as his best blocker, Evan Neal. The Tide's schedule is once again a monster, and the addition of running back Jahmyr Gibbs could cut into Young's massive pass numbers from a year ago. Surpassing or even matching his 2021 passing stats could extremely be difficult for Young. So there you have it. He has to get 2 dark horses here, but I'm not going to talk about those. So those are the top 10 candidates, according to NFL.com, of the Heisman Trophy winners for the Heisman Trophy. Who I'm going to pick? I'm going to go with C.J. Stroud of Ohio State. I think he is going to do big things this year, and I would expect him to be holding up the Heisman Trophy at the end of the season in December. So now let's go and talk about my college football playoff teams. Let's start off with what I'm predicting to be the number 1 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Take a look at their schedule. They start with Notre Dame this coming Saturday. That's going to be, I hope, as a Notre Dame fan, it's going to be a tough task, but I think they will win that. Then, of course, they have the tomato cans with Arkansas and Toledo. Then you have the Big Ten schedule. You start with the 18th ranked Wisconsin Badgers, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, the Michigan State Spartans. They're going to have a week off, October 15th on a Saturday. Then they start again with Iowa, Penn State, Northwestern, Indiana, Maryland, and then, of course, the game Saturday, November 26th at Michigan in Columbus. Looking for revenge for last year. And then if they do what I expect them to do, which is go 12-0, they'll be in the Big Ten championship game, and they should probably win that. So I'm having my number 1 seed be the Ohio State Buckeyes, I think, at 13-0 going into the college football playoff. Should be a done deal for them, and that's why I'm choosing C.J. Stroud also as the Heisman Trophy winner. My number 2 seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Take a look at their schedule. This Saturday, starting off with Utah State. And then they have the Texas Longhorns. Should be a doozy at Texas. The ULM Warhawks, the University of Louisiana at Monroe. Then they have the Vanderbilt Commodores, starting off with the SEC schedule. Also, Soccer Razorbacks, the Texas A&M Aggies. That's going to be their toughest game of the season, I believe, when it comes down to it. I think LSU and Auburn are going through rebuildings in the first year of rebuilding, so I don't think they're going to give them any type of things. And then they have Tennessee after the Aggie game, Mississippi State have an off week. Then that's the LSU game. Again, I think LSU should be better, especially under Brian Kelly, but not good enough to take down Alabama. Ole Miss Rebels, that could be something interesting. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, we'll have to wait and see. I think Alabama will still win. Then they have the thing that I hate that they do. They put, they get some FCS school, put them in here and put them in there late in the season for their homecoming game against Austin Peay. They're gonna blow them out. So it's gonna be one of those games that they blow them out so bad that the second half they're gonna play, a 10-minute running clock game. So that's ridiculous. Then they got the Iron Bowl Saturday, November 26th at Auburn, and then of course the SEC Championship, where I believe they will take on an also undefeated Georgia team, and they will beat Georgia, kicking Georgia out of the ability to make the college football playoff. And I will tell you why when I get to my other 2. So I think Alabama will be the number 2 team, right? And I know you're saying Alabama's number 1. Yeah, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that game against Aggies is going to be really close. It's going to come down to the wire. In Ohio State, other than the Notre Dame game and the Michigan game, are probably going to blow teams out by 20 points, making them the #1 team. And of course, that's the AP. Once the college football playoff committee starts up, they can make Ohio State the #1 team. So, but I have Alabama as the #2 team, also 13-0. #3, maybe a surprise to some, but I think they're good. They're ranked #6, I believe, in the AP. It's the Utah Utes. They're my #3 team in the college football playoff. Here's their schedule: at Florida, starting off really tough, going to SEC country. I think they'll win. And then they got Southern Utah, San Diego State, and then they get the Pac-12 schedule: Arizona State Sun Devils, Oregon State Beavers, UCLA, USC, which is going to be their biggest, the biggest fight, I believe, till now in the first half of their season. They're going to play 7 games, and then they're going to have a bye week. So then they've got 5 games left. Washington State on Thursday, October 22nd. And then they have Saturday, November 5th, the Arizona Wildcats. They've got, is it Saturday, November 5th? Okay, I guess it is. Yeah, Saturday, November 5th at Arizona Wildcats. Saturday, November 12th, the Stanford Cardinals. Probably their toughest game in all entire schedule is going to be the number 11 Oregon Ducks on Saturday, November 19th. And then November 26th, they got the Colorado Buffaloes. And then Friday, December 2nd, they have the Pac-12 championship. Believe, I don't know exactly where Utah is, in the north or in the south. I think they're in the south. But it doesn't make a difference. They'll face Oregon again or some other team. They're going to win that one. They're going to go into the college football playoff again 13-0. No lost team, no one lost teams or multiple lost teams so far. Let's go and talk about our 4th and final team making into the college football playoff. And finally, the #4 team, Clemson, is back on track after their down season and makes the playoffs. Let's look at their schedule. Monday, September 5th, Labor Day at Georgia Tech. Saturday, they face the Furman Paladins. Saturday, they face Louisiana. Saturday, September 17th, they take on the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. 24th, they're at Wake Forest. The 1st of October, they're against NC State. October 8th at Boston College. October 15th at Florida State. The Syracuse Orange on October 27th comes to Clemson. Then a week off, and then Saturday, November 5th, their biggest test of the season, I believe, will be the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, but I do think they will win that. Hopefully, again, it's not a blowout. It's a close game for Notre Dame. Louisville Cardinals. And after that, and then the Miami Hurricanes after that, and then the South Carolina Gamecocks at home on Saturday, November 26th. The Saturday, December 3rd, the ACC Championship game. I believe they will win that one, and they also will go into the college football playoff at 13-0. So if we're looking at my Final 4, #1 seed Ohio State goes against #4 seed Clemson. #2 seed Alabama goes against the #3 seed Utah. What happens? Well, I think Alabama beats Utah. I think Ohio State beats Clemson. In the national championship game, it's Ohio State and Alabama. And I think Alabama once again wins. They defeat Ohio State, and they become a NCAA champion once again. Nick Saban's 8th college football championship. So those are my college football predictions. Once again, Ohio State is 1, Clemson is 4. Ohio State beats Clemson. Alabama is 2. Utah is 3. Alabama beats Utah, and then Alabama beats Ohio State, become the national champion. So now, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's check out my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And now, my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. What record would they be this year? Let's go ahead and let's take a look. We're going to start this Saturday with Ohio State. I'm hoping they give it their all and keep it close. I hope that they can prove people wrong with the 17.5 point underdog bullshit. But I think they'll lose to Ohio State. I have them beating the Marshall Thundering Herd on September 10th, beating the California Golden Bears on September 17th, beating North Carolina on September 24th, and then a week off, and then they play the BYU Cougars on October 8th. I think they'll beat them. They'll beat the Stanford Cardinal October 15th. The UNLV Running Rebels at October 22nd. The Syracuse Orange October 29th. They have a date with the Clemson Tigers that we just mentioned on Saturday, November 5th. They will lose there. They have on Saturday, November 12th, the Navy Midshipmen. They have the Saturday, November 19th, Boston College game. Their homecoming game, I think, will be then. And then, of course, they'll go out to USC and face the Trojans. I'm gonna say they're gonna win that one. They're gonna win that one, beat the Trojans. And then of course they have their bowl. They're not in the conference, so no conference championship game. They'll go to a New Year's Six bowl game with a 10-2 record. So I'm having Notre Dame 10-2, first good year under Marcus Freeman. All right, so that is it for my college football preview. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure you go follow my Patreon, patreon.com/AJTRIP, so that you sign up to become a patron. Because once you become a patron, you will be able to determine what you see on my YouTube channel, what you see video games I play on my Twitch channel, and what things you want me to talk about on my other podcast, The Word According to Me. So please, thank you guys so much for listening and all of the podcasting, wherever you listen on your podcast platform. And for those of you watching over on YouTube and listening on YouTube, again, thank you for watching. Post any comments down below that you have. Tell me what you guys think. Give me your predictions on the college football season. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.